Welcome to Life is for Living channel. I'm Kylee Buckley and I'm here with David J. Riddell from the School of Living Wisdom. Welcome, David.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So, David, tell me, can somebody really change their character, especially if there's an area that seems just massive, like addiction or,
Uh,
yeah, can they change?
the difficulty of change should never be underestimated. In fact, it's so difficult that people would rather live the life of an addict, they would rather watch their marriage crash and burn, they would rather abandon their children than change. We should never underestimate how difficult it is to break a habit.
Mhm.
At one end of the spectrum, you've got attitudes that need to be changed, then you've got habits that need to be changed, and then you've got addictions that need to be changed. And we define any addiction as a habit that a person can no longer live without. And so I've been studying motivation and change and why some can and some can't for most of my counselling life, which is well over 30 years now. And I guess I've made a reputation for myself in New Zealand, at least, as being an agent of change, not just change, but radical change, dynamic change. And I have studied the subject to the point where I'm able to tap into people's motivational drives quite quickly now and draw out motivation that they didn't even know was there. And once we can do that, then they can tackle the greatest challenges and they find they can sacrifice and go without the stuff and the things and the moods and the attitudes that they never thought they could be without. You could say that the brain is 1,000 billion grooves or fibers, neurons, and just so difficult to harness the power of a brain that's habitualized, but not impossible, Kylie. There is plenty of hope yet, providing people get fed up with their life as it is.
Mhm. So, I suppose they have to have a moment of enlightenment where something becomes greater, or maybe they get sick of the pain that it's caused them. They actually wake up to the destruction. Do you think that's the main motivation for people?
I don't think people do change until the pain of staying the same is now greater than the pain of change. If you could think of it as a graph, the cost benefit graph, you can see there comes a point where one is heading up and one is coming down and they cross over. And the moment that the pain of change is superseded by the pain of staying the same, motivation begins to increase, but they're not out of the woods yet. And so I've made up a little diagram here, just over a couple of minutes to show you where I'd like to take your audience.
Right.
And if you look at this, we call this Who Can Change? And I've drawn it like a Bethlehem star. And so you can see at the top point of the star, there's the question, the future. And what are we going to do? Are we going to increase the motivation by thinking about a different future, a better future? You can see down the bottom that pain must increase, the pain of consequences such as bankruptcy or divorce or alienation or ill health. And you can see over on the right the need for relationships and the need there to increase love and accountability, even take a mentor and consider the marriage and the future. And then on the far side, we've got the need for those life skills that have been missing. And my role as a counsellor is to make sure that all 4 points of that particular star are in place so that we can really give them a good hope of change and we can show them the direction to go in.
Mhm.
And I refer to that often because it's so simple but so profound. And people who thought they could never change suddenly see what the way forward looks like. And I should add that there's going to be some life skills we need to build into this, Kylie, because without those life skills, change can indeed seem just too difficult. And to give you an example of what I'm talking about now, we need to increase trust skills. So you stop trusting the wrong people and you start trusting the trustworthy people, and you start increasing in your skepticism of the untrustworthy people. That's a life skill, and possibly the queen of the life skills. The queen, knowing when to trust, who to trust, and who not to trust. I've also considered there the need for negotiation skills. Can you negotiate? Can you proposition? Can you counter proposition?
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's my way or the highway. It's my way or I'll have a tantrum. It's my way or I'll have to punish you. It's my way or I'm going to sulk. So there's just two examples of the kinds of life skills that people really need to have recourse to if they're going to stop getting pushed around, stop dominating, stop hiding, or stop escaping into all sorts of fantasies and devices and drugs in order just to cope with life. It
Mhm.
need not be a complex business building the motivation to change, but it's not that simple either. We have to approach it wisely. And I have this little system which kind of gives a strategy for people who feel lost in the whole too hard basket, depths of that too hard basket, when they really look at what they need to be and what they need to do.
Right. And there's also, like the limbic lag, where you
Yeah,
need to.
yeah, yeah. Well, I was going to bring that up because limbic lag is not known to many people, but it is the number one challenge of any addict. Limbic lag, simply put, means that you've got to change muscle memory, and you've got to be prepared to do the opposite of what feels normal and what feels comforting and what feels right for some time, until the nervous system, the neurological compass, just swings around. And
Mhm.
of course, everyone who has to drive on the continent or in America, they're going to have to change their orientation from left hand drive to right hand drive. And limbic lag is the adversary here, limbic lag is the opponent.
Mhm.
And it's no different for an alcoholic who's going dry or a drug addict who's kicking the habit. You get through this limbic lag uh, opposition, shall we say, by understanding that this is not a terrible thing you're going through. This is the body healing itself. This
Mhm.
is the brain healing itself. Limbic lag could be described as the compass rediscovering true north. And it spins a little bit in the process. They call it swinging the compass in aviation. It spins a little bit while you re-establish true north.
Yes. And when I did the course, I'm just going to hop up because I have.
Yes, that's your little groove block, the block of two grooves. Will you take the low groove or the high groove? Will you start a new groove? Will you always head downhill as you always have? Or will you stop doing what you've always done and set up a new groove, a shallower groove, and head up at a rise in your attitude rather than just drift down to the bottom? And we get them to write on the back the best truth coaches that can dig them out of that groove to despair and that groove to failure. And that could be to do with gambling or with exaggerating or with stealing. It could be to do with intoxication, anything at all that you're really trying to do battle with, to start that new groove and then to finally dig it deeper than the old one.
Yes, and it takes a conscious mind effort to go against something that you've always thought, to stop yourself every time and think, actually, no, and to replace it with the truth. capture that thought and replace it with the truth.
And we need some key persuaders at key moments in that run. We need to remember that if I always do what I've always done, I'll always get what I've always got.
That's
We need
right.
to remember that we're not going to change until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. And we also need to understand that this thing that we do and want to stop doing is not our friend, it's actually our enemy.
Mm-hmm.
There's really only one step that an alcoholic has to take, and the step is to become fully persuaded that alcohol doesn't make my life better, ever, not ever, not even once. It always makes it worse. And the same with telling lies, the same with sexual addiction, the same with gambling. We've just got to become convinced, actually, that this is always, 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 no exceptions, no exclusions, going to make my life worse.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who becomes fully persuaded is then free of their addiction. But we say fully persuaded, and we highlight that word. In fact, until my client is fully persuaded, it's not going to be long before they're back here in tears yet again.
Mm-hmm. That's right, because we need to acknowledge it, that it's not our friend, that it's my enemy. It works against me, as you were
Well,
saying.
the famous Bible teacher Derek Prince used to say, God is only going to deliver people from their enemies, never from their friends. And it's our job to figure out which is which.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, here's a truth coach, guys. For those that have the book, P123, the truth will set you free to enter heaven. But first, it will hurt like hell. First the pain, then the gain. First the death, and then the resurrection.
That's right.
It's
You're facing the death of your comfort zone. You're facing the death of your quick fix. You're facing the death of your soft option. You're facing the death of your conviction that this is going to fix my dilemma. You're finally understanding that actually it's the opposite. It'll make it worse. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it's going to make it worse.
Yes, and it's like we believe in a false comfort, a false hope. It's a lie. It's not.
Every addiction has an attraction, and the attraction is that it can do something good for you very quickly in the short term. And whether it's becoming reliant on painkillers or whether you steal stuff because you can't figure out how else to get it, it's a quick fix. And quick fixes are very alluring and very attractive, especially in the moment. But if you're not going to miss your footing and plunge down that mountainside yet again and end up in prison or end up divorcing or end up broke, you're going to have to remind yourself that actually, I know where this is going to take me now. I've figured that out. I'm just going to stop relying on stuff to fix my mind and fix my attitude and help me through. It promises to help me through. It always delivers more hell and more horror.
Okay, so P55 is David Riddell's famous saying, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And really, is that what you want? Has this habit really delivered to you? You know, when you were 18 years of age, is this how you really saw your life as an adult going forward, living the way that you are, or doing what you're doing? You know, is this really, what you want? So that's a very good truth coach. And here's the book of truth coaches that you can get from the link on the main forum there of this recording.
Well, I can't claim credit for that one, Kylie, but I can say this. Radical change, the more radical the change, the more likely you are to keep it up. People who do incremental changes often just don't keep it up because displaying to the world that they're not yet fully convinced. A radical change says, to hell with it. I'm not doing that anymore. I know where it takes me. I know where I end up. From now on, I'm steering away from that. A radical change feels strange. It feels like you've broken up with your best friend, but you have to do it because you've started building your life around something that is going to choke you and pull you down if you don't fight it now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. It's like that saying that I like, get over yourself. Just stop it.
Well, if I knew it were that easy, but I can tell you this, that as long as you're experimenting with knocking off your habit, you're probably not going to. It has to be a total stop. It has to be, that's enough. I am now fully convinced, no matter what it costs me, I'm never going back there. That's a radical change.
Mhm. Awesome. Thank you, David. Any other parting comments?
Well, there are addictions that you may not be aware of that are also addictions. I regard homosexuality as an emotional addiction, caught in the grip of that addiction, uh, can't go without that same sex fix, can't stand on my own 2 feet yet. Or what about rescuing as an addiction? Enabling, if you want the American term, is also an emotional addiction. Some people are addicted to rescuing and straight into codependency as a result of that addiction. That's also an addiction. What about wallowing in self pity? That's going to result in depression. That's also an addiction. What about anger? Or crucializing everything? That is also an addiction. What about masturbation? Compulsive masturbation, I'm talking about here, the kind you have no control over. And so when it gets into the realm of addictions, anything that has a destructive effect on our lives that we can't stop, we can safely consider to be an addiction.
Right. Yes. And even like telling lies.
Yep. Or exaggerating, that lies little brother, exaggerating. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll need to look deeper into our
Yeah,
lives.
we do. And we shouldn't really think that we're the answer to this. I mean, we talked earlier, one of the skills we need as a mentor or a coach or a counselor is someone who can get between us and our self talk, between us and our childhood beliefs, and
Mm.
show us another way. To try and fix it yourself, hey, you're the cause of the problem. You're probably not the solution. You might need somebody else to step up and come between you and your overruling desire. And that's where a counsellor who's trained in limbic lag and trained in addiction and quitting habits can be absolutely vital in this process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, because I can imagine if you've had an addiction in anything, you need to fill that gap with something. Would that be true? Or do you just acknowledge the gap and think, well, I'm going to feel this way, or I'm going to.
Well, the truth is, the addiction is there because there was a gap there in the first place. No question about it. People with father issues, dad gaps, mother issues, mum gaps um, are trying to fill those voids with something else. And that's the heart of sexual addiction. It's the heart of many addictions that are just trying to fill the mother gap or the dad gap that was left there unattended, even unaware of during the first 10 years of your life.
Mhm.
And so we do have to address that and show you virtually how to reparent yourself. And that's a skill that I often take my addicts through, how to reparent yourself.
Mhm. Yes. 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 The solo parent or not having a parent. Yeah, it leaves a big hole, doesn't it?
A
People's
big
lives.
hole, and the first resort of children is to try and fill that with an addiction.
Yes. Interesting. Well, with all the broken marriages that are around now, it's no wonder I suppose people are, you know. having
Well,
issues.
that's what we look for in pre-marriage counselling. I always look to see if there is a mum or dad gap. It's going to cause chaos further down the track if it's not attended to.
Right, yeah. Now, what's the best way to attend to it? Like just reparenting yourself, I suppose, like you're saying.
Well, it's not just reparenting yourself, it's certainly learning to back yourself and to give yourself what your mum or dad never gave you. Christians do this in Jesus' name and in the name of Father God as a matter of their faith and as a matter of course.
Mm-hmm.
And those that don't have faith can still learn to back themselves and support themselves through a very bad time. I just think that the call to serve Christ and the call to obey the Father adds a powerful wave of motivation and a powerful reason to get free of addictions that nothing else can match.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, thank you, David.
My
Leave
pleasure.
it
Hope
there.
that proves useful.
Yes, very useful. So if you're always going to do what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always got. So thanks, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you.